This could happen to you.
Woman telling Action 9 a couple of $100 in unpaid HOA dues cost her and her kids their home.
Yes, the HOA foreclosed on her home. It was valued at more than $800,000, but it was sold for less than $50,000. Action 9 investigator Jason Stojanki is covering the story. Jason, to many, this just seems unthinkable.
Yeah, Erica, it certainly does. But look, I have the paperwork right here. I went through all of it, and I'll tell you, you have to remember HOAs can certainly do this. It's perfectly legal, and that's one of the reasons Taylor Sanders came to me. She wanted to make sure that others realize that.
Weddington Hills. Taylor Sanders says it was 2020. She admits she owed dues, according to HOA records, $400.
They said it hadn't been paid for a year.
The HOA sent her multiple letters. She says she never got them. Then things snowballed. In February 2021, the board got a lien on her property. Then in April, it sent her this letter saying Sanders owed about $1,200 and that I was going to start foreclosure proceedings.
I thought it was a joke.
It wasn't. According to county records, her 3,300 square foot home sold for, look, $49,000.
Yes.
She says just like that, it was gone.
Oh my God, it was devastating for my children. I don't wish this on anyone.
Records show the person who bought the house turned around and sold it 5 months later for, get this, $850,000.
So just the beginning, I want to educate other people. I want to make sure they know about it. I want them to know their rights.
And as far as the other side goes, I did reach out to the HOA's lawyer to see if he wanted to add any perspective to all of this. I haven't heard back.
And Jason, you've covered a lot of HOA issues like this before, and there's a real lesson here.
Yeah, there certainly is. A very painful lesson for her, but again, she wants to make sure others realize, and she'll be the first to tell you, number one, make sure you take any legal threat from your HOA very seriously. But in the meantime, outside of all of that, as I've reported over the past year, state lawmakers are considering a bill to give homeowners more recourse in situations like this. For example, the board could still put a lien on your property and start foreclosure proceedings, but it would have to meet certain criteria first. But in all fairness, there hasn't been a lot of movement on that bill since last May. We're live in Weddington. Jason Stojanki, Channel 9, Eyewitness News.
Yeah, thank you for this important reminder.
Although this seems like a scam, this is perfectly legal. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, why would someone move in the HOA community? Why do I need an HOA? I don't want an HOA. Well, first, let's look into the cons of it, right? The cons of it is they can fine you, right? They can fine you for things like not cutting the grass. They can fine you for your garbage can being out on the curb too long, or your garbage can being in sight. Some of them, some HOAs, not all, some of the HOAs, they want your garbage cans on the side of the house or out of sight, okay? And for violations, they can fine you. Now, some of those violations are probably justified and some are probably just petty. So, for example, let's say that you lived in an HOA and you wanted to paint your house any color you want. Well, that you got to see what you can do within that HOA. So basically, the HOA for the exterior of your house, they have to let you know what you can and can't do. They have control. And violations of fines, they could accrue interest. And if they accrue interest, after a while, they can foreclose on you and take your house. Yes, they can take your house for unpaid fines, unpaid HOA bills, etc. So, and then the house will go to auction and they will get paid, and somebody, has took your house even though you're still living in it and could have a mortgage in it. So yes, the HOAs do have that power, and they can be petty. Let's talk about the good things about the HOA. HOA, they can make sure that the community standards are high, make sure that property values remain elevated, or keep them at a certain level. Meaning, when I say a certain level, like don't let the prices drop less than what you pay for. How do you do that? See, not all people know how to live, and I'm speaking from experience. Some people have no problem having a broken down car in the front of their house or parked in the community on one of the streets, one of the dead end streets. They'll have an unregistered broken down car. The HOA will put a note or a sign on that car and say, hey, listen, if this is not moved by X date, we will tow it. Okay? They will make sure people are not constantly barbecuing in the front yards, etc. Just things that just can be an eyesore to the community. And when you're selling your property, you don't want people to see the eyesore, because they might say, wait, this gotta be my neighbors? I'm not dealing with this. I'm not paying this, and it could potentially overall bring down values. Okay? So the HOA does keep community standards in place. Now, I remember one time, when I was living in the HOA, they made me power wash my house. I just bought the house. And you guys, if you're not familiar, I'm an investor. So I buy houses and, fix them up. And that was the case. I fixed up the interior. I didn't do nothing to the exterior. But they said, hey, you got to power wash your house and you have to X date. I just went ahead and power washed it. To me, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a good thing. You want the neighborhood looking good. So, there is some good to HOAs. All right. Now, one of the bad things that I dislike about an HOA, hypothetically speaking, let's say that an HOA needs $75,000 in reserves at all times. Well, if somebody on the HOA board decides to steal $50,000, gets locked up, but the $50,000 is not recovered, well, then they can go to the community and say, hey, listen, we're short on reserves and we need you guys. We know you were paying $75 for a month, but now it's going to be $700 a month because we have 2-3 years to make sure our reserve is back to $75,000. And they can do that, and there's nothing you can do. Yes, you can try to sell the house, but if everybody's selling the house, the values are going to drop in that particular community. This is a true story. It was I was looking at a condo one time in the building in Charlotte. The building was made with stucco, and whoever did the stucco didn't do it correctly, and there was a crack and water got to the foundation and the building started to lean. To the normal person, you wouldn't see the leaning and the damage the water has caused, but to a professional who goes out there and measure, they're like, yeah, this is a serious issue. We got to redo this. Well, everybody in that building had to sign for a loan to fix it for like $150,000, then had to pay. The HOA went up to like it was like $1,000 or $1,200 a month for X amount of months, and multiple people were trying to sell it and they couldn't sell it because of everybody's trying to sell, so they everybody's cutthroating each other like, well, okay, well, at the time this is when things were a little bit more affordable, so let's say somebody goes on the market for $150, the next person might be like, oh, $150, oh no, you can get mine for $130. Next person, hey, give me $90, I'm out of here. So that can happen. So, you got to be careful with the HOA. You want to ask questions about what does the HOA handle. Do you handle the roof? Do you handle the front yard, exterior maintenance? Or do you just handle, putting the community reef up in the beginning of the subdivision every holiday season? So, you want to know these things because, to be honest, the less the better. The more they handle, the more risk that something can go wrong. So that's another con. But the pros is, again, they keep the neighborhood looking good, keep price values looking good. And if you have a bad neighbor or something like that, so for example, my friend, her tree fell into a neighbor's yard. The HOA came and handled it. It was outside of her gate, but they came out and handled it. It was on her yard and the neighbor's yard, and they came out, removed it. So the HOAs can be good, because if that was a private case, even though it's outside, if it fall on your yard, you got to get that out of here. Now, of course, as far as the situation we just seen, there are a lot of rumors on the internet. One of the rumors is that she inherited the house and there was no mortgage. I do not know if that's true or not. But I will say this, right? If that was true, then that means when it went to auction, well, the person paid 40 something thousand, I believe, 49,000 for it, and then, you know, did what they did and sold it for 800K plus, which kind of makes sense. But guys, the person said that they received a certified letter from an attorney and they thought it was a joke. Attorneys do not make jokes with certified mail. That does not happen, guys. I don't know what world this person was living in. I don't want to get into name calling, but believe me, when the attorney sends you certified mail, take that seriously. And don't try to avoid it. I've seen people try to avoid those letters and end up losing everything because they didn't look at the letter to see when they were going to court or what was it about, etc. So you have to be mindful and open those letters and face the music, okay? Listen, running, eventually you're going to run out of breath. So you might as well face the music while you can and deal with the issue. In this case, the issue was $1,200 at this point. They were not going to do anything else. You had to pay $200. It was a certified letter, or they was going to move forward with the foreclosure. I don't know the person's situation, you know, but that's something. Either if you don't have $200, you need to put your house on the market for full price, or see you can get, you know, on the phone and beg from family and friends or whatever you have to do, or borrow from a credit card or something of that nature. Now, I get everybody doesn't have the resources of family and friends, and some people burnt those bridges. Everybody doesn't have access to credit. I get it. So at that point, you got to face the music and say, yo, I got to sell this house or I'm going to lose it. You know what I mean? And in this case, you know, they got peanuts, you know. Normally how the auction goes, once the HOA is paid off, the excess goes to the homeowner. So whatever the final HOA bill with the attorneys and the court fees and everything else, more than likely the attorney got the rest. But what's 40 something thousand dollars on an $800,000 house? That doesn't make sense. Now, we all got family members or friends, or we know people like this. Now, if you got family members like this, use this as a lesson. Don't just point the finger and laugh. Learn from it. You know, the lady is nice enough to go public and talk about her experience so that we can learn from it. So you need to take this as an opportunity to learn from it. Now, if you have elderly people or older parents in your family, and you know there's an irresponsible family member or irresponsible child, you need to tell them, hey, maybe Aunt Jane Doe, maybe you should set up a trust so that way the property can go in the trust and leave instructions in the trust stating that when Bobby Doe inherits the house, Bobby has to sell the house. And then you can actually add as well that the money goes in escrow and Bobby Joe will get paid, you know, X amount per month. And you can even put in there that Bobby Joe has to work to receive payments. If you're in a situation whereas, you know, houses are 600K or plus in your neighborhood, that's what they go for, you can get a trust and leave instructions in it that, hey, Bobby Doe can take out $350,000 to find a house to pay it off cash that's not in the HOA, and the rest of the money they can have on monthly payments. All right, you can set it up because listen, the reality is we all know people that's this irresponsible. Okay, we all know people that they are in their right mind, but they make terrible decisions. Okay, so listen, let this be a learning lesson. Set up a trust, have instructions in it. You know, have this this conversation with family members that, you know, man, maybe leaving all this property with no instructions is not the best thing. Leave some instructions, especially if you know siblings are gonna fight. Say, hey, listen, y'all gotta sell this property so nobody's fighting over nothing. You get your money and move on with your life. Yo, in the meantime, if you want to hear more stories about HOA, click on that video next to me from this closing firm located in North Carolina, 24-hour closing next to me. Guys, I'm Nasser, aka the real estate guru. I'm not a guru, I'm a guru because I actually do this business. Peace.